Welcome to the Crystal Self-Healer Podcast. I'm Carissa Weaver. On this podcast, we blend the magic of crystals with the science of psychology to help you break free from chaos, ditch the overwhelm, and master your emotions so you can have more energy, get more done, and feel better every day. Get ready to unlock your intuition and restore your true power as we cover how you can transform your life using crystals and self-awareness. Are you ready to get started? All right, let's go. In a world made up of energy and matter, empath and highly sensitive women are prone to pick up on unseen currents, absorb and internalize the energy of others, and often aren't consciously aware that we're doing it. We can often see, experience, and interpret other people's settled actions, movement, or expressions, even when they don't. When we're operating on autopilot and not consciously aware of where our intentions, emotions, and thoughts are, we can find ourselves feeling vulnerable and exposed in ways that make us feel unsafe. As an easy example, we're going to think of an unresolved fear of missing out. Most of us will be able to think of that from our teenage years. But from that, we may then experience thoughts that convince us that we've been purposely excluded by others or rejected by others. While this is a simple example, and it is completely in the control of the person having the thought that they've been excluded by others, there are instances where it's a little more baffling about the source of what we're thinking. This isn't strictly about having and holding healthy boundaries. We will dive into that topic in future episodes, but this episode is where we're going to be exploring what you can do to protect yourself and your energy when you create an energy shield with crystals. I had a client come to me when her daughter was experiencing feelings of being ill at ease in her bedroom. Her sleep was being disrupted, and she didn't want to be in there in general, in her bedroom. She had feelings of not being alone, yet there was no one in the room with her. And my client, as a parent, she was worried about her daughter's well-being. Now, I am in no way a paranormal expert and won't spend time on whether this was an entity, a residual energy, or an intentional attachment willed by someone else, but I do know that you can create an energetic environment where an unwanted vibration just won't stick around. Think of it like the adage, misery loves company. When someone wants you to wallow in their river of misery and you don't meet that energy with acceptance, when you don't allow that energy to become your energy, usually that person who is miserable will either shift into a less miserable energy, or they'll go find someone else or something else that will satisfy their need to sit in their river of misery. Now, before we get back and go deeper into my client's story, let's first look at a couple concepts of what psychic or energetic attacks can be. In esoteric and spiritual traditions, they are thought to be intentional or unintentional attacks on another's aura or energy field. We could use an example of this as being the concept of hexes and curses, or the act of wishing negative intentions upon another. And I know we have all seen the protective amulets used in different cultures, like the evil eye or the hamsa hand, used to ward off evil or negative energy attacks. Now, from a psychological standpoint, Energy or psychic attacks may be interpreted as being presented with a situation, a circumstance, or a stimulus that is too powerful or too big to be dealt with or worked through in a normal way, which then leads you to emotional overwhelm and difficulty coping. Whether these beliefs are real or imagined, whether society subscribes to the concept of energetic or psychic assaults, the important thing to note is that there is a perceived external energetic attack or threat upon you. And that's why we're going to cover ways you can be in command of your own energy to create an energy shield with crystals so that you aren't at the mercy of things outside of you or your control. Now, when there is no obvious direct cause and effect for the way you feel, let's start with how you can recognize when you may be experiencing a psychic attack. First, you may experience unexplained fatigue. The red flag here is that it would be sudden and unexplained, meaning you didn't just pull an all-nighter or run 5 miles. It's essential as empath and HSPs that we have a way to discern between our natural fatigue and an external energy drag. Second, you may be experiencing emotional dissonance. These are emotions that don't seem to fit in with your natural emotions, or they're feelings that come on in an instant and with an intensity that doesn't match the situation. This can also be in the form of persistent thoughts that don't seem to be from you or under your control, and not in alignment with your normal thoughts and patterns of thought. If you're experiencing mood swings at the drop of a hat, it may be time to dig a little deeper. Third, you may experience physical discomfort. Being in a space that holds an energetic imprint that is working against you may manifest as headaches, body aches, or a general sense of unease. So, revisiting my client's story, her daughter was experiencing each of these symptoms in various ways, creating a very tense experience in the home, fraught with worry and concern by the parents. And before we go even further into this client's story, let's look at how our empath and highly sensitive traits create some struggles and challenges for us in these types of situations. The first place we struggle is with emotional overwhelm. We tend to feel an overwhelming urge to fix or absorb the emotions of the people around us. And when we couple this with difficulty in differentiating between our personal energy and external emotions, any external attack will complicate this tendency. We may begin to shut down. We may not know how or where to focus our attention. We might return to old habits that we no longer want to do, or we may experience an increase of stress and exhaustion. Second place we struggle is with isolation. As a sensitive person, it's often difficult for us to express what we're experiencing in ways for others to understand. So we might find ourselves explaining away what it is that we're feeling. We might feel frustrated because we don't feel heard or understood. And this strain on our relationships may result in us tending to isolate away from others in an attempt to find space in order to deal. But the double-edged sword here is that if the external intent is malicious, this isolation could result in us going further down the spiral that we don't want. The third place we struggle is having energetic boundaries. This can include learning to say no to people and things that you find draining. But like I said earlier, this is more than just having and holding healthy boundaries. When we persistently neglect our energetic boundaries, it may result in burnout, impact our mental and physical health, contribute to stress, insomnia, digestive issues, and a compromised immune system. This is about being able to support you and your energy in a way that serves you and repels the things that don't. It's about identifying a way to address the anxiety causing the discomfort. One thing I really want to make clear here: while our sensitivity is our superpower, when we are not in a space where we are in command of it, it then becomes our Achilles heel, opening us up to all the undesirable experiences that make us feel icky. And for this reason, we're going to look at the way I help my clients create an energy shield using crystals. Ultimately, as empaths and HSPs, our goal is to find ways to operate in the world while we care for ourselves and create resilience. When you have more resilience, you can lead a more balanced and fulfilling life, embracing your sensitivity as the strength that it is, instead of as a source of distress and dis-ease. When you work with me, I use and teach my clients a 3-step process that becomes the blueprint that they use forever to prevent any future circumstances from dragging them down into these energetic slums and slumps that nobody wants to live in. Step 1, we begin with grounded awareness. We start by getting a clear picture of what is going on. We fully understand external versus personal sources for what's being experienced, and we brainstorm all possible solutions that can bring a desired end result into reality. In my client's case, the unsettling feeling was limited to just the daughter's bedroom, but it was creating problems in the household because the daughter wanted to not be in her room at all. A few of the solutions available were moving her room, shifting the energy in her room, or even as much as selling the house. Now, obviously, some of the solutions are extreme and may not be feasible. But that's the whole point of brainstorming all possible solutions, right? Step number 2 is intention. There is something magical that happens when you truly decide that you want to take action toward a solution that you've identified. This is a simple step, but so powerful. You get to choose where you focus your time, attention, thoughts, and energy. And your intention holds all of that in one place. There are lots of things in my life where I've identified the solution, but hold no intention of actually bringing that end result into reality. Like when there are dirty dishes in the sink, I know that a solution is to deal with them and wash them, but I also know that I have no intention of actually doing that. So there's that. In my client's case, the intention was to create a sense of calm for the daughter and the ability for her to willingly use her room. And this is what was kept front of mind as we went into the next step. And the third step is aligned action. This step is all about taking action and then tweaking your approach until you reach the desired end result. We need to be reminded that very rarely are things a one and done kind of situation. We need to give ourselves the space to try something, measure it against the outcome we desire, acknowledge our progress, and then draw upon our resilience to adjust or improve upon what we did while still remaining aligned with the intention we hold. In my client's case, we chose to implement a two-step solution of releasing stuck energy through smoke cleansing and following it with creating an energy shield using crystals by placing a crystal grid within her room. In order to grid her room, we placed specific crystals in strategic places within her room that would support and aid in extracting, neutralizing, and purifying the energies within her room. When you take the time to create an energy shield with crystals, you may experience a few wins at the end of the day. By creating an energetic shield, you minimize opportunities for unwanted energy to be absorbed into your experience. It's your own little barrier which will improve your sense of physical well-being by reducing stress and emotional fatigue. When you have a clear energetic boundary around what is yours and not yours, you become less susceptible to external influences, creating more emotional resilience for you. You'll be able to navigate challenging situations with a more rounded and centered approach, and also find that things that used to make you very exhausted no longer leave you feeling drained. And finally, by creating an environment where you're not questioning your sanity, you'll be able to engage with others, embrace connections, nurture relationships that are meaningful to you. In my client's case, her daughter was able to use her room again, was no longer unwilling to sleep in there, and overall, the emotional distress was lessened and everyone was more at ease. I'd say that's a win. So as we wrap up today, if there was one thing I would like you to take away from this episode, it's that when you create an energetic shield using crystals, this is just one option available to you to establish an environment where an unwanted vibration just won't impact you and how you're choosing to lead and live your life. There are multiple ways you can address a perceived or real external energetic attack or threat against you, and I can show you a roadmap that you can use to learn how to stop allowing other people, situations, or circumstances from calling the shots in your life. If you're ready to start feeling more energetically aligned and at ease, I can help you. You can learn more about working with me by scheduling a discovery call using the link in the show notes. This episode has been brought to you by the power of crystal grids, big or small. Blessed be, my friends. All right, my friends, that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you for joining me here today on the Crystal Self-Healer podcast. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave a review, and take the What Crystal is Best for You quiz linked in the show notes. Join me again next week as we continue to demystify crystals, how your brain works, and how you can use them so you can have more energy, get more done, and feel better every day.